On you. Mayor Chip Dutcher.
Here.
Marvin Block.
Here.
Ryan Green.
Here.
Doug Lehner.
Here.
Sharon Hendren.
Here.
Don Barnard.
Here.
John Merriman.
Here.
Okay, I'm going to call on Sharon Hendren to deliver the invocation.
Bow your heads. Dear God, we ask your blessing on those in attendance and our city council. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, the spirit of justice, and the spirit of love. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have two presentations this evening, and if none of my council colleagues object, I'd like to switch the order and have the sequence go first.
Sure.
Anybody have a problem with that? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Pam and Dwayne.
Well, good evening. It's been, we rehearsed this. It's been a couple months since we've been here before, and so we want to give you an update on the activities that we've done on behalf of the city of Johnstown, the meetings we've conducted, and then Pamela's going to talk about some of the funding activity that has taken place as well. And I think I heard in the previous committee hearing that Johnstown voice is being heard. I think someone mentioned that, and I think that's true. We're seeing it at the State House, we're seeing it in Congress, and the number of meetings we've conducted have been pretty extensive from the governor's office. Mayor Chip was in attendance with Director Lydia Mahalik of DSA, and the governor's representatives, Megan Wadsworth, his policy advisor, Laurel Dawson, and Scott Ryan, who now has taken a new role from his previous role at DSA to be the liaison from the governor's office to Licking County. So we had a meeting, talked about some of the priorities of the city, and just wanted them to be aware that there's opportunity in Johnstown to send funds our way so we can make some of these projects and programs a reality. In addition, we've been to DC, met with Congressman Balderson, his chief of staff, as well as his legislative director, to talk about potential projects for community project funding. And so that was a very productive meeting. I know, Marvin, I talked to you at the business meeting here, and you have a relationship with the congressman, and I think you're going to be pleased with the effort and what he is doing to look after Johnstown when it comes to Congress and when it comes to dollars. In addition, while we were there, we met with Sherrod Brown's staff. We are currently communicating with Sherrod Brown and Senator Rob Portman to bring some of their district directors, their district staff to the city of Johnstown to sit down with you to understand some of the needs and some of the opportunities that they may be able to bring. So those are just kind of a few highlights. We can send a written report so you have all the meeting notes, the meeting details if you so wish, but I'm going to turn over to Pamela with some of the news on the funding.
Sure. So all of those meetings that Dwayne went through and several more, and the mayor has been, I think, in most of them, and some of them have been a little arduous, as you would agree, but they prepared us for 4 specific projects projects, requests, grants, and so forth that we applied for. 2 were capital budget requests, which were community project funding in the state capital budget. I'm not going to steal the representative's thunder, but this was a team effort in which there were 2 submittals. Bailey helped put the application together. This team, Jack, we had letters of support and so forth. But the 2 requests were for a splash park for $700,000. You all may have gotten some of this report up in a previous committee, but again, $700,000 requests for a splash park and $400,000 for an amphitheater. And that bill's being drafted, the projects are being vetted. The representative expects that we'll see the capital budget maybe around early June. So if he would like to add some more later, he can on that. So we participated again as a team on getting those submittals, so $1.1 million for those community projects. We also worked on, Dwayne mentioned the meeting with Congressman Balderson, and you might recall that last year, the Congress allowed for appropriation, congressionally directed spending requests and community project funding, otherwise known as earmarks. And I don't believe Johnstown had ever applied for any, but this year we did, with the extensive help of Jack, with Bailey, with the mayor. This is where Wolpert's technical team also came in and supported us on this, and we submitted a request for an earmark for $1.5 million, and that was a water recharge and exploration study. And for that specific request, we had 2 letters of support, Grow Licking County and the Port Authority. The process, just so to give you a quick update on what that happens is that the different departments have accounts in which can be earmarked. So this one, our request is specific to the transportation budget. And within that, there are different accounts that you can earmark, and there are different criteria that are set up that you have to meet. It's very technical, and there are certain things that you have to qualify for. One of the elements, I guess, that came out of the meeting with Congressman Balderson, and as we were putting together the narrative, was that what is Johnstown's comprehensive plan? How does this fit into all the things that you want to do? What's the vision? What's next? How are you approaching this? And so from that, we were able to put a narrative together, and obviously you had the 2020 plan, lots of discussion on that being updated, and you can talk more about that, but that was something that was really important to make our application meet the criteria and then hopefully be successful. So Congressman Balderson is supporting that. Right now it's before the committee. The committee is vetting it. Again, there's a lot of federal regulations and again, criteria that you have to meet to get this funded. It would be 100% funded through taxpayer dollars, and it would come directly back to the city should that be approved.
Just a note of that, I know Marvin, in the previous meeting, you were talking about someone mentioning that Johnstown doesn't have any water. This study is looking at the capacity of all the aquifers at Johnstown, so we can refute some of that, because I know he mentioned a previous study that's done years and years ago. We want to make sure that we know exactly what the aquifer.
Jack, do you want to speak to any of that?
Yeah, I want to jump in and in talking with Wolpert on these things. What we want to do is we want to get part of this funding will be to get, so we know what our maximum withdrawal out of our existing aquifer is. Is there another million? Is there another 3 million? You know, we don't know, because when we were doing our planning for the next million that we're building our new facility with, that was pre-Intel. We didn't know that this major growth was going to come, and our current well field and, you know, had lasted us 30 years. And we're just now expanding it, thinking it wouldn't last 30 years, but it might last 15, 17 years. So what we're doing here is, part of this is going to be to see what our maximum withdrawal out of our current well field is, and look to other areas to expand our well fields into other areas, simply because you can only put so many wells in a certain area before they begin to influence each other and pull against each other. So we need to find another area to expand so we have more water available for the possible growth coming our way. So obviously this funding will be crucial for us to start into that. Was that a earmark grant funding?
It's not grant, but its technical term is a community project funding, which
Yeah.
would be an earmark. Yeah.
Okay, an
Yeah.
earmark.
It
Okay.
comes directly to the city.
Right.
No
So,
matching required.
A great project that in a very short amount of time got
Yes.
put together and got in, and hopefully that's going to pan out for us to help us for exploration.
So we have a little bit of a process to go through, and happy to share more details or have a workshop later if you would like to go into any other specifics on these things. The last one was a really heavy lift, and that was we sought a competitive grant through Department of Transportation, federal. This is a grant called the RAISE grant, and it was one of the new grant pots, if you will, that came out of the bipartisan infrastructure law. That also was a very technical grant that we worked with all of the stakeholders. This was for your mobility hub. It was specifically called the Johnstown Regional Connectivity and Mobility Hub. So another attempt to get funding, worked extensively with Bailey, the Wolpert technical team, and the other stakeholders on putting this application together. This was a total of $12 million that we're seeking. We expect, we submitted that on April 14. Takes a while to get all of these vetted. Again, this is a national grant, so the competition is very stiff. We applied for 2 buckets that were available. There was a planning and then a construction piece. So a lot of work went into that, again, very, very technical, competitive nationally, not only within the state and there were actually other areas within this region that applied for also the planning portion. So our competition is in our backyard and all across the country. But I did want to mention too that we did get some significant letters of support for your application. One came from the Ohio Department of Transportation. One came from Department of Development, so Lydia Mihalik's office, Congressman Balderson, Senator Portman, Senator Brown, and the City of New Albany all supported our application and wrote really strong letters, I think, for that. So it's a total of, I guess, 14.6 million that we have floating out there in requests over the last 2 months. So with that, we can take questions or...
Questions? If not, they'll be back. You can count on it.
And you
Thank
will
you.
have
you
our
very much.
contact information. I know there's a meeting coming up with Rep. Frazier
Yes.
next week. If there's other
Yeah.
You want
meetings,
us to zoom in?
That
or-
guy, that guy.
That guy.
if there are other meetings, give us a call. We'd be glad to
Yeah, if you
jump
need
in
some support or
and,
attend for you on your
Yeah.
behalf. I'm happy to do that.
Appreciate your efforts here.
And on the, our meeting with the Ohio Department of Development that was sort of alluded to, we went into that meeting with a list and numbers on that list of things we were looking for and are gonna try to get down the road. So they are aware of our requests.
Yeah.
And,
We also, just to piggyback on that, so we have set up a follow-up call for those. There also, another call that we had and meeting discussion was with Jobs Ohio, and we work, you might know, again, that's the state umbrella arm for economic development. You work through, depending on where you are in the state, through their regional economic development partners. This region, it's One Columbus. So Matt McQuaid is the person we reached out to help liaison to find some planning grants or vibrant community grants that Johnstown might fit in. That would be 100% grant money for planning and other things. And so we're gonna have a follow-up meeting. One thing that has, I don't wanna say slowed it down, but that we're waiting for is One Columbus hired a new person that came from Warpsy that is gonna be in charge of kind of being that liaison for this specific thing. So any communities that are applying for grants and things like that are trying to get matched with Jobs Ohio grants. So again, lots of competition, and we are right there making sure that y'all are represented and have a voice at the table and aggressive with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Mark, do you want to come next? I'm going to insert Mark into this because he's got other places to be, and this is,
I figured Jack wanted to hear from me.
this is
so,
Mark
yeah.
Mark
Love
Frazier, in
talking
case
with
you
all
don't
the
know
time.
him.
Why, hello, team. Hello, everybody out there. And so, do you want your laptop, or is this?
No,
okay, for the next.
No, that's the next
Great,
one.
I feel good about it.
We got them stacked up like,
Don't manage
you know.
the
Yeah.
person staring.
So I'm Sarah said Mark Frazier. I represent the 71st Ohio House District. It's the Supreme Court ever approves my map. It will probably be the 68th Ohio House District. And I'm here today as part of our ongoing engagement with local communities. And so we did 3 meetings with Jersey Township, specifically focused on residents that are in the annexation agreement area that are not being annexed, to try to get as much information as we can. Chip came to the State House as well to kind of give the informational update. We have a packet of information that we can pass on to you to make sure that everybody else sees it as well, as far as the timeline is concerned, as well as the expectation for the roadways and the roadways improvements. There's 2 sides of this. One is the Intel site, where New Albany is doing the road work and they're looking at the expansions. The largest road that they're going to put in place is a 4-lane road with a median turn lane. Our expert and resident in Licking County said that's probably gonna be about 95 feet across. And so, based on the design standards that we see. And so a lot of that was dealing with residents that are concerned about encroachment, their wells, what's gonna happen to their property. And so that was a lot of the focus, to build the timeline, provide the information to make sure people can make competent decisions with what they wanna do with their properties. And so ultimately, what we see is a timeline that is focused from construction beginning in the fall of this year, is what the target is, to the fall of 2025. The initial improvements are going to be on 270 and 161, where it's 3 lanes now, which should be 4, where it's 2 lanes, it should be 3, all the way to 62. And then on Mink Road, there's going to be an interchange update where they remove the sidewalks and expand the road, but they're not going to tear down the bridge, they're not going to recreate it. So we've dealt with a lot of misinformation on Facebook, as you guys can probably imagine. So a lot of this has been an effort to try to get accurate and verifiable information out to the general public. And so the Jersey Township meetings have gone very well, and us going out in the community has actually helped drive information into these community groups and gotten a lot less conspiratorial calls in the office. And so it has been working fairly well. And ultimately, some of this now engagement is outside of the ODOT side and more on the New Albany Company side, Intel side. Emily Smith was here, and she is representing the public affairs. Josh Rubin was announced as their government affairs individual as well. And so we're setting up meeting times with them, with as the Intel representative, Jobs Ohio, One Columbus, those groups, in order to make sure New Albany Company, everybody has the information that we disseminate it to our locals. Some of the biggest items that we have on our agenda for Johnstown is the Lincoln County TID, so roadway improvements outside of the Intel site. What are we doing with Mink all the way into Johnstown? What are we doing with Duncan Plains, 62, 37, all of these other ancillary roads that are going to be impacted? So the TID for Lincoln County is commissioning a study to look at that, and they have a $500,000 grant with the state of Ohio that we've been pursuing diligently to say this is something that's absolutely needed for this, because 3,000 jobs in the grand scheme of Western Lincoln County is not huge, but it's the additional suppliers, the additional construction, and everything else that is going on very rapidly in Western Lincoln County. So the site expansion on Intel, it's a great thing, it's a great industry, vertical integration, suppliers coming as well, but it's the construction that's ancillary around that as well that has a lot of our concern and our focus, as well as people moving here, people living here, and the additional traffic that's already existing that is often a bottleneck as well. The other big piece for Johnstown that we've been focused on is water and wastewater, and that's not just to try to keep Jack happy, because I don't know if I can do it, you know? And so
Try harder.
Yeah, I'm working on it. And so we did a $250 million bucket with ARPA funds. We have about $3.2 billion remaining, about 600 million range from the last tranche to 2.68 billion that we're getting in this tranche. And so what we're trying to make sure is we prioritize water and wastewater development. And so from the state, we are very interested in refilling that bucket, providing additional grant opportunities. And then we also have the infrastructure bill that's coming online that's being routed through the Ohio EPA. And so that funding, which is going to probably be for 2 different federal fiscal years because of the delay in it coming out the door, it should be available at fourth quarter, Q1, end of this year, early next year. And so we're trying to align these projects to say, do they qualify for EPA funding with principal forgiveness? Should we use funding for ARPA dollars in order to make sure that we don't have unnecessary loans or grants or barriers to entry for these projects? And then also, it's a coordination effort in Lincoln County. And so for a long time, the cities have done an excellent job on investing in water and wastewater, building their capacity, servicing their communities. And what we see is in the rural townships and outside of the major metropolitan areas, a need to invest and provide access to water. And so the meeting that we're going to have is with county planners that have been hired in order to do a water and wastewater study throughout the county. And one of the biggest things is we want to make sure everybody gets along as one big happy family, like we all should. And so we want to make sure that the concerns are addressed, right? We make sure that we identify what the current goals are of the study, what's the capacity that we have, what the capacity is that we're moving to, and what areas should different water systems invest and occupy and pursue. And so I've just pulled up the 2017 Western Lincoln County Accord. Jack's name was on it, just so you know. Marvin, I don't think your name was on it, so you're off the hook. And so ultimately what we see is greater collaboration in order to make sure that Western Lincoln County is developed appropriately and responsibly and we understand the ramifications that we have, because talking to our school districts, what we realize is where water and wastewater go, development will go, and there's an impact to schools and communities as well. And so we want to prioritize that, make sure that we're diligent with that. And when it comes to the capital funding request, Johnstown was prioritized by us as something that we're pursuing. What we've heard is Finance Committee meeting is going to be meeting in the next couple weeks. The target is to get it passed by the first week of June, which is our last scheduled session date. And so we're going to pursue that and hopefully get that done. As part of the speaking tour, I'm wanting to take any questions that you have. I will not necessarily have the answer, especially with what your specific property is and the ramifications on intel on your specific property. But in the larger scale of things, I can hopefully give some direction or find some answers that you guys might have, especially with the various departments. So we'll open up for questions if you guys have any.
Questions for Representative Frazier?
I have one.
Oh, great.
On the meeting.
Any elected members have questions? Yes, Jack.
On the meeting we're having the 17th.
Yes.
What are we hoping, how defined are we hoping to look at areas here? What is the main scope that we're gonna try to get with all the entities at this meeting?
So ultimately, we want to create a spreadsheet that A, identifies all the water districts, B, identifies what their current capacity is for water, what their current capacity is for wastewater, what their current projects are that they're focused on, and what type of state funding requests that they would want to pursue in the future. Because at the end of the day, it's hard for us to advocate for things that we don't know about.
Right.
And so when it comes to everybody being transparent of this is where we want to invest in, this is where we want to go, it will reduce duplication. It will also help jumpstart the study that the committee's doing to make sure everybody's in the same room, everybody's looking at each other. We build that trust and respect for each other that is needed to accomplish something that's viable for the future. Because at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of studies get done and not necessarily a lot of execution on those studies.
Right.
And with something as critical in water and wastewater that we have, I would like to see a study that actually is executable at the end of it. And so I think that's what the goal is.
Thank you.
You said you was gonna have a meeting with the Attorney General's office tomorrow?
I have meetings with the Attorney General's office all the time. We're working on a bill right now called debarment, and so I have my good friend Mike Rogers that I meet with all the time. And so we have some time tomorrow where I'm supposed to call him and touch base with him.
Well, this is this is on the General Miles estate. And, we had an attorney working on it, and then, it got into it, and, we tried to talk to them, and they took it out of our hands, of course, which Johnstown's named in the will. I'm gonna give you a copy of the will.
Yeah.
Took it out of our hands and never got back to us. They made the decision to work with the Miles estate, and we asked them to get an accounting. Now, this estate's, what, 62 years old, Chip? 62 years old.
Thereabouts.
So what did they do? I found out that they was having an auction. In fact, one of the members on their board called here and wanted to pick up stuff. And he come and picked it up. They did have an auction. Some of the stuff that was in that auction is in an antique shop down in Lancaster right now. We was never given the option of getting any of that stuff for our museum here. It went to auction, and the Attorney General's office, I had an email back from them that I'd sent them and told them that I was real concerned about these artifacts going to auction, that they were things that could never be returned or never be duplicated. And she mailed back an email that said they was well aware of everything that was going on, and they had it handled. And then the next time I heard anything, stuff had been sold. And Licking County Parks District, they made a deal with Licking County Parks to give the farm to Licking County Parks. It wasn't offered to Johnstown. Licking County Parks was never mentioned in this will. This will says Licking County, or Johnstown, Liberty Township, and surrounding area. They're giving the farm to the Park District. The Park District plans on starting a weed patch down there, as I call it. They're gonna let the weeds grow up and make it natural.
You're welcome.
We're in desperate need of ball fields and soccer fields and things like that that our school would use. Our plan was, and I told that to the Attorney General, our plan was to develop it, put some fields and stuff in for the kids, the sports to use here in Johnstown and Northridge. But that wasn't good enough. They decided to go another way with it. And I'm just real upset about it. And one of our citizens filed a response about it to the courts, and the courts just shut her out. And there's several emails here, Evan, from our lawyer and to them. But the last one that I sent to them when I found out they was having these sales and stuff, I sent it to Liza, who's been taking care of it. She works for the Attorney General's office, in case everybody wants to know, and she is in a division that handles charitable trust. This charitable trust, they turn it in every year to the Attorney General's office, and they've not checked on it in 62 years. And now they decided there's a hot ticket to get rid of it, and the Park District is just thrilled about getting it. And there was some cash involved too. But the artifacts are gone, auctioned off. He was a brigadier general. He served as inaugural.
Head of the military district of
You
Washington.
give his bios on Chip. Chip used to sit with him at church. You gotta listen to this. This is important, young man.
I'm sorry, the laptop just died, so I
You
don't know who the
pay
next
attention.
presentation
You pay
is.
attention to
Yeah,
it.
you-
Anyhow, General Miles is a local, I would call him a hero, at least to me. And the fact that nothing has been done with his estate for 60-some years is, I think, criminal. I've always said it'd be a great 60 Minutes story of how this guy left this to this community and nothing was done for all this time.
So can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Is there like an executor or a board or?
Yeah,
someone
there's
who oversees
there's
the
an
estate?
executor, there's an attorney for the estate, there's a board of which the mayor of Johnstown is a named individual.
But you, I take it, don't sit on?
And they don't have meetings.
Okay.
So it's a mess.
And
Anyhow, but it's now in Lincoln County probate too, and I think the clock is ticking, and I think we have, it was a 60-day clock, and I think it's ticking, so
We'll get you in a minute.
we have to
Yeah, and here's.
Get
the thing.
after it.
So I'm a little bit blind to the situation.
No,
I'm
Yeah.
picking up
it's
the
not
papers.
Mark's
I'm picking up the papers
issue.
today, right? And so.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think I usually view collaboration as the best recipe, right? So talk to the Lake County Parks District, talk to the Attorney General, look at the background information. I was smart enough to never go to law school, so I just write laws, I don't interpret laws. And so hopefully we can find some sort of common ground that everybody can agree to, from the Parks District to the city to, I believe the township is a party as well in this.
Liberty Township.
Liberty Township, and so, which is still my district, so great. And so, ultimately, I think that's where the collaborative approach really needs to be, is what is the court saying, what's the Attorney General saying, what's the executor saying, and where has this really occurred over the last 62 years? Because you haven't been mayor forever, right? And so, was there ever a meeting of the board, and were we ever following the stipulations that were in the will, and what's the ramifications of that? So the best that we can do is give the Attorney General's office a call tomorrow with the facts and start pursuing it, and we'll put my aid on it to make sure that we drive it to completion.
Anyhow, Mark, we appreciate
We appreciate what you can do,
all
Mark.
you do.
Licking County Parks was not even in existence when this will was probated. And it's just a hot mess, and we thought the Attorney General's office would do the right thing, get it straightened out, but instead they completely ignored us, and they're giving everything to the Licking County Park District.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is understanding what the opinion is in the Attorney General's office, right? And so that's something that we should narrow down. Yes, ma'am.
I want to say something, just maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't. Well, I filed suit myself. Okay, I'm like you, I'm not smart enough, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm smart enough to file a suit.
Absolutely.
And I filed one, and I asked for a motion to intervention, lawyers might know about that. But I filed as a beneficiary of that will, because I am a resident of Johnstown and Liberty Township, both.
Yep.
I have a Johnstown address, but I live in Liberty Township. And I filed not just for myself, but for the hundreds of unknown beneficiaries. Because most of the people that live in Johnstown know nothing about that they have a multi-million-dollar, at least a $6 to $8 million piece of land coming to them. And with all this is happening, with everything with the next hill and all this stuff, that land is gonna be really valuable for the citizens and the kids and people that want to have some open spaces. So I have filed a suit, and I think they're not gonna just be able to ignore that. That one for sure. I'm gonna get it out in court, I'm gonna get it out in court, and I'm gonna get it out in the public. Because that's the whole biggest thing. The public doesn't know what's going on. They can't do anything about it. If I have to stand on the street corner and pass out the will, I sure as hell will. Because a 3-page will that is turned into a document this big, I'm not kidding you. A 3-page will is that big right now. And it's just ridiculous, and I'm just fed up with it too.
And I mean, this, I feel bad. Right?
Mark, you did-
It's the easiest thing to say, and so the best thing that we can do, right, is not tie this in the legal system, get people to do the right thing, and have everybody come together and talk. And so,
And shine light on it.
yeah, and that's what we're going to try to pursue. And ultimately, it's tough to make a judgment call without seeing the documents or the facts. And so, what we can do is talk to the elected officials that are there, that are supposed to be intervening on the behalf of both the state and on our citizens, and then making sure that we do the right thing with everybody. And that's talk to the county and the individuals. If you look at the Heisey Museum, Sherwood Davidson House, Park Shea House, everywhere else that we have in Lincoln County, right? We care about our history, we care about our community assets, and we do whatever we can to try to improve those community assets, whether it's a bike path that connects everybody together, or whether it's ball fields that let kids play on it. So we'll do what we can to pursue it, and with the right information, I think we can find some sort of equitable conclusion to this. So, anything else we got?
Anything else from Mark? Thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you, Mark.
We
Thanks,
appreciate it. Okay, moving right along, we're gonna have a presentation from Wolpert Engineers. I know that's not the official name, but
Well, good afternoon, council, and constituents of the city of Johnstown. Thanks for having us here this evening. We are really pleased to be here and excited for the opportunities that are coming your way with all the growth that we see here with the Intel investment. My name is Tom Mockney. I'm a senior vice president with Wolpert. I've been with the firm for 31 years. It's the only career I've had, but learned a lot about consulting over the years. And I'm gonna, we've got a brief presentation here that we want to cover with you guys, but really brief, and then we'll open it up to a lot of questions that you guys might have. But are we good here? Next slide. So the goal today, much like it's been since we first started meeting with your staff and Chip the last couple months, is really to share, to work hard to listen to you guys and to earn your trust. Monitors are flickering a little bit.
yeah, they're cutting out.
Let's go on the screen here.
Ay, ay, ay. There we go.
But really, through listening, through working together, we want to become a trusted partner, advisor, and advocate for the city as the development comes. You need technical advice. It'd be nice in a normal environment where the city could staff up and have some of this capability in-house, but that's, I don't think, in the cards right now. So that's the value that we bring. Again, a brief agenda here, brief commentary. The focus of the agenda is as we've been meeting with your staff, we've learned about the most pressing needs that you have as a community right now in terms of planning. So that's what our focus is going to be over the next few minutes, discussing that. But a little bit about us. We've been around since 1911. We've got some additional brochures and information we can share with you for the read afterwards. But we're the largest Ohio-based engineering consulting firm in the state, with roughly 350 staff in the state and over 1,900 across our many office locations. But this is the work we do. It's really tied to your needs over the next several years. So we feel that as a multidisciplinary firm, we can make sure these projects that come together over time, as funding becomes available and the demand is calling for it, that we can integrate these projects and keep your long-range community plans front and center. Again, we're going to introduce some subject matter experts here that's going to talk in more detail about certain elements of your program, but first just a little bit about our management structure. Again, I'm listed as the principal in charge for your program, so it's my job to make sure that any commitments that we make as a firm that we deliver on. I'm the person responsible for that, as well as all the engineering staff that support our energy, our water, and our transportation teams all roll up to me. So I'm one throat to choke, if you will, for anything you guys need, both now and in the future. With me is Mr. Shane Mwale. Shane is he's our Chief Strategy Officer, but for what that means to you all is he works closely with our clients and congressional staff and government officials on advocacy, on policy, and helping with the funding. And so you'll hear more about that in our tag team approach with the sequence, something we do on a regular basis. Also with us is Mr. Paul Day. Paul has been identified as your day-to-day program manager, so it's his job to make sure all the technical staff that work on projects, also other consultants that you might have. Certainly you've got other consultants doing work for you, but how do we help keep that flow of information and progress happening while the city does their day jobs? You guys have a day job to do. It's our job to make sure that all the planning and engineering and construction that is going to occur, as well as the things going on around us in other communities, it comes together in a way that you guys aren't being caught off guard by. But first, these are some of the words and phrases that we've heard as we've talked with Bailey and with Jack and the mayor. You know, what development is going to create and what it's going to cause. We can look at these as challenges, we look at them as opportunities, and then it's our job to handle the technical aspects so that these do truly become opportunities for the city as it grows. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chad Atkins. Chad's going to talk about the community planning aspect, because that was one of the four major things that you all said was most important for you. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chad.
Thank you, Tom. Hello, my name is Chad Atkins. I'm the Urbanism and Planning Discipline Leader for Wolpert. I'm in our headquarters in Dayton, Ohio, which is my hometown. And so I just want to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to come here and talk to you a little bit about comprehensive planning, which you know is a very important piece of this overall puzzle as we look to the future of Johnstown. Now, you just updated your comprehensive plan, but that was pre-Intel and pre all this development pressure that you're feeling. So that's really the main importance to updating this comprehensive plan, is to make sure that we incorporate the new development patterns that are going to be coming to this area from Intel, from all this growth, everything that's going to be going on here. So I think it's very important to look at planning at various scales throughout the course of different projects. So I really enjoy looking at a regional scale, understanding that regional context, but then drilling down all the way into site development and making sure that as we plan, we make sure that all those layers are connected. And that's one of the benefits of Wolpert and our team that we have assembled here, is that we're really able to connect future land use planning, the future transportation plan, the utility plans, those capacities. We're able to plan for all those so that we can manage the growth and control the growth so that we meet the community's vision. That's really what this is all about. It's all about the community. It's about you all the constituents, everybody in this room, everybody within this city, everybody just outside of the city that can be supported by the city of Johnstown. So again, why do we need to develop an updated comprehensive plan to control that growth, but also to complement the grants that we're going to be going after so we can bring the money to support these projects and these initiatives that will be community driven through the process that is usually an 8-month process for an update like this. We really want to streamline that down to about 4 months. So how do we do that in a streamlined process? Well, we're going to partner with a Columbus-based planning firm that specializes in small towns. So we're going to partner with them and work with the city, work with Bailey, and you all to come up with a public engagement strategy. So what does that strategy look like for the city of Johnstown? How do we get the most input? How do we get the most buy-in as we make future decisions on land use, as we make future decisions on people's properties? How do we do that collaboratively so that we have that buy-in, we have that community support so that we can move forward? So identifying that vision, identifying what those grants are, what those initiatives are that come up from the community, that's our approach. We like to listen, as Tom said. We like to listen to you all, listen to the community, get that feedback, but make sure it's the right inputs, make sure we're talking to the right people so that we can formulate that overall vision and celebrate that. Now, within this 4-month time frame, how are we going to streamline this process? It's ultimately about the future land use plan. So we want to get to that future land use plan and let the plan continue to evolve, but really the future land use plan is what we've heard is very important. And it's not just the city of Johnstown, it's the surrounding areas as well. So again, we want to partner with you, partner with our strategic planning partners, and really work with the city to develop this plan. So we have some ideas on how to streamline that process, and there's different ways of doing that, but we want to work with you all to do that through some pre-planning. So that is step number 1, is to figure out what that public engagement strategy is and what will work here for Johnstown. And then as we develop the plan, as we review the current plans, review all the plans from the region, we're gonna look at, again, the future land use, tie it into the transportation, tie that into the utilities, look at fiscal impact analysis and future land use alternatives to help inform that preferred land use plan. And then that can evolve into looking at impact fees. So as the town grows, as developments come in, what are those impact fees that can come support the infrastructure that's needed to support those? So that's a very quick overview of our planning process, but it's about you. It's not our plan, it's your plan, it's for you, for your constituents. With that, I'm gonna hand it over to Dave.
Thanks, Chad. I'm trying to advance this without blowing up the TVs. So my name is Dave Holstein. I'm a program director at Wolpert, all going back as far as January 1st of 2022. Prior to that, I was 31 years in public service. I retired from ODOT as the Deputy Director of Engineering. But really the vast majority of my career was spent in traffic operations. I was the state traffic engineer for 18 years, or 19, right? You lose count at some point, but a very long time. And so my point of even talking about the public service is I've been on your side of the table. I've been in the public meetings when the public wants to know answers and you don't have them. They're worried, they're scared. What is this going to mean to them? What is it going to mean to their property value? All those questions. And so my first goal as it relates to traffic and transportation would be to get you some answers, and answers quick, about what it's going to take to handle the additional traffic that's going to come from Intel. What we know now is at full belt out, 14,000 employees, right? And I'm quoting from the Intel Traffic Impact Study. 24% of that traffic is coming from the north, coming from Johnstown, right? And they distributed over Mink, Clover Valley, 62. So what's going to happen with that? My goal will be to get you the answers. What are the impacts? what are the options, and then offer context-sensitive solutions, right? We can't build giant 5-lane roads through Johnstown, or it ceases to be Johnstown, right? And so we need solutions that are innovative, creative, and fit the context of what you want this town to be and continue to be. So that's step one, get you answers based on what we know now. But step two is to really support the updating of the strategic plan, the active transportation plan, those activities. Transportation plays a critical role in those, right? And when you look at your existing comprehensive plan, there's a section on transportation, right? But really, if you think about what's going to happen with that, you all, with our help hopefully, will be laying out what development goes where and how much of it, right? All that, with that development comes more traffic. And so we want to, in real time, keep you all apprised of, okay, if we do this, this is the impact from a traffic point of view. So we're going to be hand in hand, working with our friends to update all the studies that have to happen. And we're going to do it fast. We're going to do it in almost real time. And the final thing I'd like to talk about is regionalism. You know, traffic, transportation, by its very nature, is a regional thing, right? Moving people and goods from place to place. I just quoted you part of the ODOT mission statement, I'm sorry. So what's going on around you can affect you, right? We talked about proposals to widen Mink, basically all the way up to Johnstown. What does that mean to you? What happens when it gets here? And so there's counties, there's cities, there's not one, but 2 MPOs all making plans all around you. And our goal is to understand and find out immediately what's going on, what's being discussed, what's being proposed, and maybe more importantly, to advocate for you. To be there for you and say, hey, this is not what Johnstown wants, or this is what Johnstown wants, and this is what we need. So that's kind of the third point I wanted to talk about. And so I'll wrap it up. I've been accused of being long-winded, so I apologize. But our goal is to give you the transportation system that you need, but more importantly, just as importantly, is the transportation system you want. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tom to talk about some water resources.
Yeah, and we have one of our technical experts on hand to answer some questions, but in the interest of flow, I'm going to cover Flint's slides here. But, so talking with Jack and Mayor and Bailey, the plan, the comprehensive plan, the transportation plan, and then water funding were priorities for us to start working on right away. And so the Seekmans updated you on that initial effort for water funding, and there's going to be a lot more to work on. So that's a good thing. Simultaneous to that, we haven't had the opportunity yet to meet with your engineers who are working on the water and wastewater treatment plants. We hope to in the near term. But what we've been doing as we've had conversations is learn more about your existing systems, both on the water and wastewater side, and looking at ways that we can take and add, maybe find some low-hanging fruit in terms of the design or planned construction for your treatment plant and for your water plant, maybe to eke out some more capacity. You know, things that weren't in the cards when we first laid out those designs. And as those expansions come online, third quarter of 23 and 24, you know, can we get another 500,000 gallons of production out of both sides, or extra capacity? So things like recycling, industrial cooling capacity for some of the development that would support, other industrial investment that would come in around Intel, new sources of water and partnerships, just talking about some of those things. Also, your distribution and collection systems and where that logical expansion would occur. And then lastly, on the stormwater side, you guys just now becoming a city will now have some new requirements to meet in terms of your stormwater, and talking about the timing of when that might occur, when the EPA would step in and say, okay, Johnstown, we need to see, a stormwater master plan and some framework around that. So those are the things that we've been talking about to this point, but certainly a lot more to learn and absorb. But I think that kind of sets the framework for any additional conversations and questions you guys might have. But now I'd like to turn it over to the fourth element, which is funding again. So Shane's going to talk about some of the various funding and then also get some more discussions about grants. So take it away, Shane.
Yeah, so you probably saw the President's State of the Union speech. You may not have liked how he presented it, but it is clearly a focus on national security to build this. The governor has talked about this being the single largest economic development project and Jobs Ohio in the history of the United States. Whether it is or isn't, it's still massive. And then on top of that, you've got the CEO of Intel coming into town this week to give the keynote speech at the commencement at Ohio State, where my daughter's going to graduate this Sunday. And so there's a lot of eyes on this project. On top of that, you've got the largest spending bills since the New Deal per capita in the history of the United States. So there's plenty of money that we have available to us. And in my opinion, and I'm sure you're going to agree, the one group of people who shouldn't pay for all of this is you and you. And so our job is to make sure, working with the Seekmans, the grant writing, the master plan, that we get the funding to help you meet your goals without you paying for it. On top of that, all the development that's going to come in as part of the master plan, the developers that you choose to come in will be paying the impact fees associated with all the infrastructure build out tied to their development. And so on the phone, we've got a low-tech approach. I'm going to turn on my speakerphone here to the microphone. But we hired a tech first circle grant writer. Her name's Angie. She'll talk here in a second. She's out in Silicon Valley, lives in San Francisco. Her niche is writing tech first circle grants and helping communities like yourself, rural communities who are impacted by big tech, leverage federal dollars, state dollars to meet your funding requirements. So I'm going to turn it to Angie. Let's see. Angie, can you talk? Are you there, Angie? Hello? Okay, well then I'm going to talk for Angie. Okay, so as we go through the process, there's a lot of groundwork. And then, so as we do the master plan, as you look at the pages, thousands of pages of sources of funding, what we're going to go is there's compliance with those funding sources is success or failure to winning the grants. Meeting deadlines is a requirement. So just months away, there's a $100 million minimum grant opportunity that I think we're going to go for. So we've got to get a lot of the components of the master plan in place and get all of our ducks in a row for the pre-award. And then as you go through the process, the funding doesn't come in one big bucket. It's just like building a house. There's percent completes along the way. So you've got to do your documentation along the process after the award to keep the money flowing, to show you're compliant with the award. And so we'll be doing that for the whole Dagwood sandwich of all the different kind of funding that we're going to get from water, infrastructure, telecom, you name it, cyber. And we'll be working hand in glove to get this funding. And so that's what we do.
Hey guys, nice seeing everybody. We're a little behind schedule, so I'm going to kind of motor through my stuff pretty fast. My name is Paul Denny. I've been working in the field of engineering for 25 years now. The last 10 years I've been in a management role and a program manager for Wolpert. I'm pretty local. I'm about 15 minutes from this building. I live over that way towards New Albany. And as program manager, what I do is I serve as a single point of contact for my clients, for you. So, and my role is to make sure that all the infrastructure projects that you guys will have in your program are harmonized together. They work together to meet your needs and your goals of the comprehensive plan. So you guys can achieve what you want to achieve. And being local, I have sort of a regional network here, so I can make sure that the projects harmonize with others who are developing in the area. And part of that harmonization is I'll make sure that, you know, Chad's, that his work is supported by the transportation study that Dave's looking at and everything else. So now something that you've heard recently just today is that Wolpert is the largest architects and engineering and geospatial firm in the state. And what that allows us to do is that we have a great bit of bench strength for you guys. So we can come in, if Jack needs some help, we can come in and help him. If Bailey needs help, we can be here to support her, and we can be here in very short order. And we can also work with the other people that you guys are already working with. That's part of our goal, is to come in and leverage everyone's expertise to serve you. And with that, I'm gonna wrap my stuff up and turn it back to Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of work here, so we want to leverage the collective experiences of other consultants and try to allow you guys to do your day jobs with that. But that's really it. I want to open it up now to questions. I'll take your questions and then kind of route them to the appropriate folks if that works.
Let me just start off by thanking Wolpert for coming and for jumping into the fray. When we had early discussions, it was to the fact that Johnstown doesn't have a bench. We have, Bailey is one person. Our planning department is Bailey. And the same for each of our areas. It's a one person has been enough when we were small to be efficient and take care of things. We're no longer small. We now have extra requirements as a city, and we have to face those. And when we started down this, we didn't have a bench. And where can we find a bench? And my answer to that was go to somebody who does this and has the expertise, and come and share it with you guys and get your input and help guide this thing. As I've often said, it's not a me decision, it's a we decision. And Wolpert, I couldn't have gone out and found a better team to join. It's exactly what we need, and especially since they're very good at finding the resources to help pay for this thing. Which, as he said, it shouldn't be you guys paying and us paying as a city. It should be these new people that are coming, paying the freight, but also finding the federal resources and the state resources and getting our hands on that stuff. So, anyhow, questions? I'll shut up.
How long have you been working with us? You said 4 months?
We've just gotten to know each other in the last few months, but we have done some traffic work through the county for you all in the past.
That's how we originally
I never heard of them before. What do you estimate the cost of this is going to be for this study?
Well, the study, which you're talking about
The comprehensive plan.
I think we provided you guys an estimate on that. Chad, what were we?
There were some numbers.
We've got a
floated.
pretty wide range in there right now. We need to work with the city to really hone in on what we want to accomplish, what that public engagement strategy is going to be. Honestly, that's one of the critical components to this, because we definitely do not want to prepare this behind closed doors.
Right. And what they've done as far as cost is really given us a Chinese menu, so to speak, of
But in
choose
that-
this, choose that.
It's below that. We're looking probably around 100 to 150,000. But it depends on exactly how we accomplish it.
And I just want
How we
to have a
structure it.
clarification there for Councilman Block, that no contract has been signed. So when the question was, how long have you worked for us? We have met with them to learn their capabilities, how they work, what they could do for us. But I want to be clear that there was no contract signed. Have they helped us fill out a particular grant that was complicated? Did they come in and help?
Yes.
Well, we have a general engineering budget that we have multiple different engineers work on. Prime has helped us with some, such as the capital grants. So they have done some work like that for some grants. But as far as an overall contract, no, that has not been put together at this time. We wanted you to meet and ask questions and see who they are and their capabilities.
It would have been nice if the council had known something about this, if it transpired. We could get on board and been a bandwagon for them, but we didn't know anything about it.
Well, I think that's what this meeting is about, is introductions and hearing in a very brief, and that's what we did. We said it's got to be brief because we have this entire docket to take care of. this is the meet and greet for that. But what I think the mayor and I and Bailey wanted to do, we wanted to see if, A, would they fit the bill to start with? You know, there are multiple engineers all over that have multiple skills. But in no way do I want you to believe that a contract or anything like that has been signed. This is an introduction and a question period.
I have a question. With the services you provide and the cost, we're a small town, so the cost is going to be substantial to us. Are there grants and things that we can get to help defer the cost of your services so that we can afford them and move forward? Because we don't want to be hindered by how much money we have now to be able to prepare for the future. We want the best as we can do.
Yeah. We're the engineer of record for several hundred communities, large and small, around the country. And that partnership that we have with them, some of these are spanned 25 plus years, but it's a partnership, which means sometimes we're carrying the cost for a period of time until the next grant or funding comes in. Other times, you guys might be carrying us for a period of time while that's happening. But that's the thing that happens over time. But our goal is, as Shane pointed out, is to get the vast majority of this funding taken care of by other federal, state, and other types of opportunities. There, we didn't even discuss low, no-interest loans. That's kind of like, down the list in terms of priorities, but there's a lot of different options out there. So it's our goal to find the funding for each project as it comes along, whichever order that you want to achieve that in, is that we're laying those funding cycles out there ahead of time so that it's not a burden to you.
So that they're paying for your services versus us.
Correct.
Okay.
If we get the grants.
Right.
Correct.
Yep.
So with the grant, usually your design, your contract administration, constructions are all, is all part of that.
And you guys handle the contract administration for the grants to make sure that we're following the grant and meeting the guidelines of the grant.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't put any extra staff or any work on our staff.
No, it's our job to make sure that those closeouts that need to happen, a lot of times the grant will have strings attached. There'll be a retainage of some percentage, and the city won't receive that last bit of retainage until things are properly closed out. So that's a burden we take on as part of our overall consulting for you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Anybody else?
He said that you were going to work with a Columbus company, so are you going to do our project, or is the Columbus company going to do it? How's that going to work?
I'll let Chad jump in here, but what we've looked at in talking with Bailey and just the pace that we're talking about, we felt it was good to bring in a couple niche firms that can help us with certain aspects of the plan in order to compress that and that schedule and to take advantage of their strengths. Well, Chad, you can explain more.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. So we're looking at having a local firm due to the compressed time frame to supplement our staff, to supplement your staff. We want to do this plan as an extension of your staff, so that Bailey doesn't get burdened by the day-to-day, but she can know exactly what's going on almost down to real time. So we are partnering with them. We're going to work in conjunction to prepare this plan. And especially with the condensed time frame, that's why these plans take typically 8 to 12 months to do, even for an update. That's why we want to compress this time frame. We want to get as many folks on board and onto this project as we can, so we get you that future land use plan as soon as possible, so we get out there and update the zoning code.
And I think too, we felt like this firm that we're talking about is.
Do you name them?
Yeah, what's the name?
It's Planning Next.
Planning Next. So they're really good at the small community planning at their core, and you can share more, but we felt that was a good mix.
And they're headquartered here in Columbus.
They're here in Columbus.
They do this nationally, but they've really got a real niche for small town rural, and maintaining that rural character, maintaining, the values of the community as it grows, and trying to capitalize on that growth.
Do you know people they've worked with?
Specifically, they work well with Dublin, and like locally, Dublin, Delaware. They did the City of Lebanon's comprehensive plan recently, and those are in some growth areas.
We also brought on a firm that's involved with the
Fiscal impact analysis.
Yeah.
And impact fees, and that's Tischler Weiss. They're the national expert in those. They've done over 900 impact fees. Not once has one of those been rejected or questioned.
So the idea is speed to delivery, try to bring in the best in these niche little areas and round out our capabilities. Again, we don't profess to be experts in all areas, so we're comfortable bringing in other firms to help augment, and if it can accelerate and produce an even better product, that's what we're after.
One question I had in reviewing your website, I noticed that Intel was listed as a partner on there. Where have you worked with them previously?
I'm not aware that we've worked with Intel.
It was something that was noticed on the website.
Yeah, and I've been with the firm 31 years, and I'll have to check that. I'm not aware of it, but
Okay.
it's one of the things, we're not working with any other community in the region either. We want to be Johnstown's advocate and spokesperson, so we're not working with any of the other surrounding cities or counties or townships. We've kind of said this is where we want to focus.
Anybody else? Karen? Doug?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You'll be back
Well, we're happy to answer other questions that council may have.
as they come up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. We're gonna move on. Action on minutes. The April 18th special meeting, they've been sent out. Are there any additions or corrections?
Right there.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
And Doug moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Sharon has seconded. Discussion, anybody? Teresa, you want to call the roll on the April 18th special meeting?
Yes. John Barnard,
Abstain.
due to absence.
Yes.
John Merriman,
I abstain.
some reason. Ryan Green,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendry.
Yes.
Okay. So the next up was the April 19th regular meeting, and those minutes were distributed. Are there any additions or corrections? Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve them.
Sharon has moved to
I'll second.
approve it, and Doug has seconded. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
John Merriman,
Yes.
Ryan Green,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Sharon Hendry.
Yes.
John Barnard.
Yes.
Okay, next up is citizen comments on matters not on the agenda. If you want to comment on something, I'd ask you to come up to the microphone, give us your name and address, and try to keep it to four. I might let you go to 5, but 4 minutes for now. Does anybody have anything they want to say and bring to our attention?
Good evening. I'm Dave Douglas. I live at 321 Fondrias here in Johnstown. I just have a question. When you're considering engineering firms for the engineer of record for Johnstown, is there a requirement in Johnstown for how many you have to consider?
No.
Okay. So it can be just one then?
It's professional, it's a professional services contract.
Okay.
And we have some pretty broad leeway in those areas. But Jack, you know
Well,
more
I would
than
like to jump in though, but we according to our charter, we have to name a village engineer, but that is not exclusive, because where we're at right now, our wastewater facility, that is with Prime Engineering, our water department expansion is with Jacobs Engineering. They used to be called Hall, but the roundabout that we're working on Sportsman's Club, Verdentes, I don't know if I have that name correctly, but it used to be Hall Engineering. Valerie was here, our last 62 widening, we work with MS. So by charter, we have to name an engineer, but before we choose for specific projects, we usually will have a RFI or, to bring in, And then we determine who we believe is the strongest candidate to do that job.
Okay.
So even though we name one, as you can tell, we're working with many different engineers on different types of projects.
Okay. Nothing against Wolpert. I was just wondering if there was a requirement to look at all, multiple engineering firms before selecting one for record.
And yes, the answer is we do, but we do have an engineer of record. But as I said, we work with many engineers
Okay.
based on the project.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Who's next? Anybody else?
I want to give my report sometime.
That, so we'll move on. Actually, Marvin, you had something you wanted to say.
Yes, I've been under investigation since allegations were made against me. February the 15th in this chamber. I sat through some horrific rhetoric that was brought against me, accusing me of everything from being a bully, and a lot of other things, spreading rumors and gossip. The village has spent close to $25,000 on the investigation of me, and Jack was included on that investigation. After the initial public response for here, there's 4 people come in and made this, or 2 people, I don't know how many it was, come in and made these allegations against me. Then on February 27th, there was more added to this investigation, which was another 3-page document. They accused me of a lot of things. I do have a reputation. I do talk rough, especially if I think people is taking advantage of the taxpayers. And there's answers that the investigators done. It was an investigation company that had never worked with Johnstown before. They were an independent investigator at that time, since we've hired them to take care of our HR.
Where's Diane?
They interviewed about 40 people, as I understand, and run through all this. And to make a long story short, after spending all that money and allegations, I'll read their conclusions and findings to you. The following: Councilman Block did not tell anyone that Director Steffen and Chief are having an affair or similar relationships. Councilman Block has not unlawfully harassed, retaliated against any employee based on protected status. City Manager Liggett did not violate city policy toward Director Steffen and did not harass, intimidate, or retaliate against her. This was the finding of the special report. After all these times, I tell you, I'm going to get in a little personal here. You have no idea what this has done to me and my family. It was vindictive and cutthroat toward me because I had the audacity to question some things that I probably shouldn't have. And to give you another idea, I've been getting threatening calls and stuff at home, and I'm just going to vent on you a little bit here. My daughter is 52 years old. She works at Kroger's. She had brain damage when she was an infant. She functions on the level of a 12-year-old. She's worked at Kroger's for 25 years as a bagger. She's a productive member of society. She doesn't understand these things. Somebody asked her at Kroger's why I was saying bad things about the chief. She knows nothing about this. Why would anybody in their right mind say that to that child? That hit hard. And it hit deep. But I've had to sit here and take this crap because the lawyers and the HR department said, oh, you'll get sued, you'll get sued. Well, here's an email I just got the 26th. Do you smell that, Marvin Block? ? Is a recall coming your way? You're old, fat, and ugly. That's the truth. I'm sure you are reminded of that every time you look in the mirror. People in this community really hate you. They hate you more than you'll ever know. I bet the police department wouldn't help you, and the fire department would not piss on you to put a fire out. It's a shame that your post your name and address numbers for all to see. I see your fat mug walking downtown. I would be ashamed if someone ran over you. You have messed with enough lives. Your time is up, fat man. I hope you enjoy what's coming to you. That's the kind of things that I've had to put up with since February the 15th.
Terrible. Terrible.
Ridiculous.
Well, I would have quit. In fact, I had planned to resign on my birthday, March the 30th, which I was 67 years old, or 77 years old. I was going to resign because of my health. I can't resign under allegations like this. I've lived in this community my lifetime and built up a reputation. And then to have people attack me like this, they put it on Facebook, they put it everywhere. And I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut and not say anything. Well, this mouth is not going to stay shut any longer. Council can do what they want to. I've made my point. If anybody wants a copy of the report, the answers and things, I'll give it to you.
Thank you.
Anybody got any questions of me?
I'm new here to Johnstown. It makes me embarrassed to live here.
Well, there's worse things probably coming my way since I made it public, so we'll see.
Thanks, Mark. Moving right along. Next up are council committee reports. Planning and zoning met on the 26th of April. Did we report on that last time or not? I don't think we did. Ryan, you're up.
So, we talked about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
But, and I got back as the chairman, so I'm back again. But, yeah, so we'll keep moving on. Looks like we have a lot more coming, so planning and things like that, so a lot more coming. Got to get zoning done. We mentioned that, and we'll move on.
Okay.
And ACE's COA was approved.
ACE's COA, yes. So we're getting a new ACE. I think we mentioned a Taco Bell, too.
Well, I don't know about that.
I don't know.
That's
Still in the planning
I heard
phases
some
somewhere.
different information on that last weekend.
Taco Bell has not submitted any application.
No, and I don't think they're coming. I think that
That's a shame.
property has been flipped. So anyhow, we have to, trying to keep up with this stuff is
It changes
crazy.
daily.
Next up is safety and service, and safety and service met tonight.
We did meet tonight, thank you, Mayor. Some of the items that we went through, I'm sure Jack will update with your reports tonight, so I'm not going to duplicate the efforts that Jack's gonna do. One of the things to touch on, since Wolpert's here and the Seekmans are here, we did talk about the area planning. Mr. Block is gonna take that and run with that, which I'm sure he'll do a fine job. We also touched a little bit on an AEP franchise renewal. Every 25 years, we have to do that. It's up for renewal again. I believe Yaz has that, and he's looking over it, and we'll make some recommendations. Our biggest thing that we want to make sure we don't cross over is the right-of-way.
Right-of-way permit,
Mhm.
yeah.
So once Yaz looks over that document and we need to make the appropriate changes, we will. And we talked about some trees in the tree lawns and Leafy Dell. Also, there's a tree up on South Main Street here that we're gonna take a look at that may need to come out, that may be posing a threat for the next storm. So I think that's about it. Is that right?
Okay.
Sound good?
Questions?
Do you want to discuss the removal of that tree, or you want to just take care of it, Judge?
What I want to do is, as Bailey brought forward, we do have a dangerous tree ordinance that I need to look at a little more thoroughly. But I do think it will give me authority to bring those down. What I do have to investigate is see who pays for that. Are they the personal trees? Can we get them cut down? Will we cut them down at our expense? I need to do a little more investigation. However, both those trees, one way or another, I think we need to get removed sooner than later. So Bailey and I will work on that the end of this week or the first part of next week to get a guideline. And then I will act on my own to see what it takes to get those removed. If the council's fine with that. Removing those trees should be no more than $1,700 a piece at most. So I'll take care of that and get it done.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
The only other thing, if I could, because I know Dana was not here for safety and service, we did talk a little bit about the mayor's court and the processing of payments for mayor's court and traffic tickets. Is that right, chief? And I think, Dana, just so you have a heads up, we use official payments, correct? And I know that when people come in person, that you all have to take the credit card and go in and type it in. And we were just wondering, is there a swipe system now? Is there a way they can tap that card? Or, so I think Teresa may talk to you about that tomorrow. And just maybe getting back a hold of official payments and saying, hey, do you have another alternative for us to do a swipe, a tap, something like that? So I just wanted to give you a little heads up on that. So.
Great.
Yep.
Moving right along, Finance Committee did not meet last time, and is going to meet on the May 17th. And Economic Development, we reported on that last time, and we meet on Friday at 10 o'clock. And next, Park and Rec met on the 17th. Oh, no.
Next meeting.
We reported on, did we report on them last time?
I have an announcement, actually.
Oh, good.
Yes.
In January, we applied for a transportation alternative program grant for the development of a multi-use trail in what is proposed to be Raccoon Creek Park. That grant, we requested approximately $430,000 for the design and construction of that trail. And I got a letter yesterday that we will be awarded that money.
Yay!
Good job, Bailey.
So we're on a reserve funding list because they are going to get funding from the federal government in the infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
But they've sent us the letter that says when they get the money, you will get the money. So
That's
I
great.
should announce that.
Thank you very much.
Bailey, go ahead and
That's
tell them
great
where that's
news.
going to go to and from.
Yeah, it's going to start at US 62 and go through that property up to Fox Drive, which is in the Pulte development. And there is currently a parking lot there because we were planning for future expansion of that park.
That's wonderful news.
It's
Great.
the first phase of a multi-phase project, so we'd like to connect that then onto Main Road and then connect along the creek eventually.
Wonderful. Anyhow, anything else on Park and Rec?
Yeah, just real quick, the dog park, the gravel base is in, the top coat is in, so now, again, we know there's more to work with the road and stuff, but we do have an area at the dog park where you can come in and park and not step out in ankle-deep mud.
And how about the entrance gate areas? Did we do something
They're
about
still
them?
muddy.
They're still muddy? Can we do something about
No,
the,
he fixed them.
you got those fixed too?
Well, we believe they're coming. Now, we've had a lot of rain.
Oh, I
but
know.
We're trying to get it down, but,
I missed the rain yesterday.
but also, as you know, I think I reported before, but we also, people were cutting through that park area up onto the pavement. We have a nice wood fence area up there so we can stop that cut through the
Great.
park to get to the parking area. So.
Great, thank you.
That's great news. The tree commission met on April 26th. It next is meeting on the 24th of May. Anything to report in the tree area?
Yeah, we planted a tree out here for Arbor Day.
All right.
We planted the tree over at the
Looks good.
trailhead. We planted 3 trees over there.
That looks good.
Bailey seen that they got planted. I drug them in, she got them planted. We're gonna replace a couple trees down on Coshocton Street, and we got a ordinance up tonight, I think, on
Yes.
getting it straightened out. And did anybody ever find out what happened over to Steel Ceilings? You said you was gonna go over and talk to them about the tree removal.
No, but we're trying to get in contact with them about their expansion and whether it's going forward or not. And we are having some difficulties.
They submitted a CRA application.
Right.
We're working
But
with.
that's to fund their new building. And there seems to be a disconnect between some of the people who work for them and the officers of the company who then have called us. And so it's like, let's get on the same page, and then we'll find out why did they cut these trees down if they're not gonna build a new building there.
Just send them up.
So, we're trying to get to the bottom of what the reasoning was to cut the trees, so. Anyhow, be that as it may. Events Committee, is, due to meet on May 19th. And, I know that the, July 4th activities are moving ahead. I saw that local waste has already donated the dumpster again, so we appreciate that. Important things in life, right? Okay, next up is director reports. Before we do director reports, I just got off a plane at 4 o'clock this afternoon, having gone out to see, been invited to come by the city of Chandler and Intel Corporation to come see a one-day tour, quick trip. We left Monday afternoon, about 5:30 in the evening, and as I said, we just got back at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It was a totally fascinating tour. It was quick. The Chandler mayor, council, city manager, their whole staff couldn't have been nicer to us and shared their story. It's not our story, it's their story. But we can learn things from their story. One of the things I found intriguing was the fact that all the water that was supplied to Intel in the beginning came from wells. And they have a whole system of wells in Chandler. They're blessed to be on top of aquifers like we are. And then they have a whole regime to replenish those aquifers. And they clean the water and they put some of it back into the aquifers, and it's quite a system. But I was not prepared for the massiveness of the Intel facility out there. It is big. However, one thing I did notice was they have citizens of Chandler who live right next to the property. I'm talking from here to the back wall. They have $1 million houses sitting there. And Intel is in charge of the landscaping around the houses. They have a whole team that deals with all of those property owners and the HOAs. If they have a problem, they pick up the phone, they have a number to call with the person who answers it and deals with the problem and solves it. I was very impressed with that. And the fact that even to the point that they're going to replace some of the larger trees that have grown too big, and because the leaves are blowing into their swimming pools. And we were laughing about they're going to have to deal with snow removal here, not leaves in swimming pools. So anyhow, it was fascinating. It was a great quick trip. I hope others have the opportunity. This was Licking County Chamber of Commerce put this together. There were a number of cities and towns and areas represented, and I think we all came away with a better understanding of what Intel could mean to us, may mean to us, and that the advice from the mayor of Chandler I took to heart. He said, whatever you're planning to do, make it big. He said, because that's when we found that going big was always the better. If it was a water line that needed a 12-inch pipe, we put a 16 in. And he said, that has served us well. They've gone from, a small community to 268,000 or whatever they were yesterday. So anyhow, it was fascinating. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about it after I have some sleep. Moving right along. Director reports. Jack, you're up.
Okay, I'll jump into these. Because of the long list, the way we have to go, I'll move very quickly and ask for questions. On the street department, again, as you see in the top under miscellaneous, they're continuing to replace the old ballast with the LEDs as they go bad, which is the way we decided to go. You do see under street maintenance, street sweeping, the weather's got fit. We've got the street sweeper out. We're working the streets again. And we have started our curb repair project in the warm weather. As we are replacing broken out sections of the curb. Instead of full curb repair, we're going down the street and fixing the broken out areas. We had a water line break, and then you also in the pictures, you'll see that the new fence was installed. Under hours work, the two things I want to point out, you're going to see more increase in April in asphalt work being done is increasing. Of course, this time of year, the mowing has increased. On the next to last page, I do want to show you, we have a lot of our curb inlets that are broke down. We got a picture here. That's one of their priority concrete and repair jobs. You see the before and after, and they'll be doing a number of those throughout the community, getting those back up and in shape. The last item I want to point out is, again, we have brought a mechanic on. If you look at the last page, under what it cost us with his labor to repair versus if we would have took those same things to the shop, this has been very successful. So in the last month, we had about a $6,000 savings by doing it in-house and paying the mechanic versus taking it to the local shop. So that's working very well. Jumping to the water department, big thing here, the water in and water out is our water and sewer, but the big thing here is almost 19 million gallons of water produced for the month of April. And if you jump to the last page, like I said, you can read through this, but the last page, from January to April, we have set a record again for water usage every month. If you look at this chart, and if you go over the past few years, you can just see it's not coming down, folks. We've got to get that water plant up and in operation as quickly as we can. As I said, record every month for production on there, and that's due to our growth in the community moving. Now into the wastewater department. Again, I can't say enough about that crew as well. They do a wonderful job. If you look at the efficiencies of the plants, again, all in the high 90s for removal on solids and BOD. Work highlights, sewer connections inspected. 6 new buildings were inspected in the month of April. With that and the higher water usage, you'll see over 600,000 gallons of sewage was processed and dried, which again is part of our growth while we're building our solids holding basin again. UV bulbs are in, and again, the pictures at the bottom, you've got a great staff down there. They do their own UV bulb installation and repair, and also they do a lot of the diagnosis on the electric in there. Bulk sewage, you can see that's on an upswing again, and we're just getting into bulk water sales. Just started this month. Next month, you'll probably see that skyrocket. So that was a very quick pass there. Before I get into the manager's report, any questions on water, sewer, and streets?
I have one question. I've had numerous complaints on Concord. These new street signs that were put out before and after the bike trail. There's caution signs for the bike trail there.
Mm-hmm.
The people have complained are having trouble seeing those, that you don't see them until you're right up on them. And they're cautioned to stop for the...
Yeah, it's a must yield to pedestrian and
Must
crosswalk
yield.
signs.
They were curious if we could get bigger signs and move them further back so that they're prepared.
Yes, I can certainly look into that.
Okay.
Jack, there may be some consideration to put like stop bars there, because that will also cause the motorists to look at the road as well.
Okay, so we've got the walk done, but you're saying maybe...
They're very close to the, if
The
they're
actual
smaller
trail
signs.
itself, right.
If you don't see them until you get right up on there, and then you're supposed to stop for, they don't know they're supposed to stop there.
And I know that I've talked in the past about vehicles physically parking on the road there, and it's very difficult to see those, the bikes that are coming through as well as the people there. So if we can address that parking issue there, I think that will also kind of alleviate a lot of that as those cars are coming down.
Well, some degree, that is going to be taken care of. Lincoln County Parks has made an agreement with the Rice property, and it is my understanding this spring, a parking lot for those cars will be parked there. Now, once that is built, we could probably jump ahead of this, but I was going to wait. Once that parking area is built, then we were gonna ask the police force to start enforcing the parking along the edges of the road, since they will have a place to park.
Like, we just need to get the signs posted down there.
So we can get those signs. Do you want me to get those signs up now, though, since there's no other place for them to go? Or do we want to wait until the parking's in?
I think we wait till the parking's in.
I'm not saying it's a good situation, but it's been that situation since it's been in there. And since I think Park and Rec, did they say that would be within like the next 60 days? They were just waiting for it to get dry to put that parking in?
Yeah, I think so.
Could you get a call out to Richard Wall from Licking County Parks to see if he could now get us a schedule of when that work's gonna go? I would have to order the signs anyway. It'll take me a couple weeks to get them in. So I will work in advance on getting those signs in, and then let's see if we can get an actual time frame on when that parking area is gonna be put in. Okay?
Great. Questions on that part of his report?
Okay.
Then you've got your next part.
Yeah.
Busy guy.
The new part, the manager's report. I do want to bring up again, we have a meeting with Mark Frazier at the Rife Building.
He leaves the
And
room.
in his email, I know the mayor said he was going to zoom in. I am going to be on site. We can take up to 3 people. I don't know why he's limiting. We figured Johnstown could fill the room, but
Well, we have to feed you, so that's why space is limited.
now the mayor wants to come.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different kettle of
I didn't know,
fish.
but in any event.
Didn't know we're getting lunch.
Members, if anybody would like to go over with me on that day, May 17th, I'm going over to be in the room. So if anybody would like to travel with me, please let me know. I can take up to 2 with me. I want to jump down. Long-awaited Edwards Road Pre-Con meeting is going to be May 10th. We are meeting with the contractors to get the start date and the schedule to take care of Edwards Road. So that's been a long-awaited project, and that mill and fill should happen. May 27th, we will be opening bids for the East Jersey Street project, which is the new water services, cutting the road down a little bit, new sidewalks and new pavement there into the trailhead. So we're looking forward to that. I also have received the draft for completion of phase 1 of the wastewater department, which is, I've got to read over that before we get the final copy to make sure their vision and our vision matched in this phase 1. And then I will, once I get the final copy, I will forward that to all you council members to look at. And when you're looking at the price, be seated when you get ready to look that over. But it explains the price and the inflation and how things have went. And last thing I do want to tell you, I will be in training all day tomorrow to keep my state certification, so I will be out of the office all day tomorrow, just so you know. Any questions? Thank you so much. Mayor? It's all yours.
All right. Legislation. First up, it's ordinance 07-2022, an ordinance amending ordinance 47-21, the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. This was introduced on April 19th. Tonight, we're going to have a public hearing and a vote. Dana, do you have anything you want to add about this?
Nothing necessarily to add. We just are moving some funds around to pay for some additional engineering costs and appropriating some of those funds as well, or encumbering some of those funds that weren't previously encumbered. Therefore, the increase is only $41,000, and that's mainly from the sewer replacement and improvement funds for the Payne Street sewer line and additional costs for a sewer truck.
Okay. So first, if anybody would like to move to approve this, and then we'll have the hearing and then further consideration and the vote. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. This is for that sewer line over there we didn't know we had.
On Elmer Payne, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Drop in an access point with a new manhole and then tie it in.
Yep.
Out on the street so it's not running behind the houses.
Yep, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Doug has seconded. Okay. We have to have a public hearing, so I'm going to open the public hearing. If anybody has anything they want to say, now's your time.
Is this that $60,000 that was coming out?
No, 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 no.
No, this
So this
It's in
is
there.
for the emergency sewer repair over on Payne Street.
But also, that's in there too.
Oh, that's in there too? Okay. I'm
It's
sorry.
transfer from the police department to from the dispatching services is going into engineering. So we have some money in that account as opposed to.
Yeah, when this budget was put together, we believed we would have to pay the county so much per call. And so to cover ourselves, we put that $60,000 in there when we transferred from our own dispatching service to the county dispatching service. Well, after conversations with the county, they said there'd be at least 2 years that there would be no charge back to the village. So that $60,000 was free and clear to get back into the general fund.
So that's where we moved it. So anyhow, this does a number of those transfers, and then the Payne Street sewer line and the additional cost of the sewer truck.
Yes.
Okay.
So sewer line, the sewer truck, and then you're moving
We're
funds over to
transferring
engineering.
some
So the
stuff.
engineering,
It's just going into the general fund.
but we don't have a use for that engineering yet? you're
Not
saying?
at the moment,
No.
but eventually, as you can see from tonight's presentations. and,
Right. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, I
down
mean,
the
we'll
road,
use it
we're
eventually. I
gonna
just wanna make
need
sure
it.
It's not earmarked for spending right now.
No, we could have put it into the general fund and just let it sit idle in the general fund, but the thought was it's probably going to end up in engineering, so
Why don't
instead
we
of
just
then
put it
moving it
there?
from general into the engineering. However, you are correct, there is no contract to use that money today. We were just setting it in.
Anyhow, so I've closed the public hearing, so any further discussion, council members? If not, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes. Brian Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Reluctantly,
Did you state
yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Lanner.
Yes.
Karen Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes. Okay, next up is ordinance 08-2022, an ordinance amending chapter 1183 of the City of Johnstown's codified ordinances. And this is the tree. As many of you may have read, there was a Supreme Court of Ohio ruling on the tree ordinance, and our tree ordinance had a couple areas that was out of, it would not stand muster with the Supreme Court's ruling, so we have revised our tree ordinance to be in compliance. I think I explained that right, yes? Okay. So anyhow, it was introduced on the April 19th. We're going to have a public hearing and a vote this evening. Bailey, is there anything in here that we need to know about?
We will need to have a certified landscape architect on our contractual staff because they need to review all of the tree removal plans and approve them. Marvin has already recommended someone who can help us out, and so I'm gonna get, as soon as this is passed, I'm gonna get on the phone with her and see if she's interested in the position, and then what we need to do to get that set up.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna open, well, first we have to move the ordinance.
I make a motion that we move the ordinance.
It's been moved,
I'll
is there a
second.
second? It's been
I
moved
second.
and seconded. Okay, now I will open it for a public hearing on this ordinance, the tree ordinance. And anybody has anything to say, now's the time. If hearing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And any further discussion amongst council members? Hearing none, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Robert Block.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
The ordinance is agreed to. Next up is Resolution 2022-15, a resolution to appoint the president of council. We have to fill some of the holes that we have in our lineup, and one of which is the president of council. And I guess the easiest, we have to do an introduction, a public hearing, and a vote. But first, I have to have a nominee.
Who's next in seniority?
Marvin or Sharon?
Or Sharon.
Yeah.
But I think it has to, I think you had a break in service.
I had a break in my service.
Therefore, she is not the longest serving.
I'm longest.
Marvin?
Marvin after, and I are the same, so, and I can't hold two jobs. One's enough. So I'll nominate Marvin.
I did.
I'll second.
Thank you.
So, we're gonna introduce this resolution to appoint Marvin as president of council. And so, it's been introduced, we'll open a public hearing. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and move, discussion. Anybody have anything to say? If not, Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes. As soon as I find my place. Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Lehner.
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Robin Block.
Yes.
Okay. Resolution is approved. Congratulations. Next up is Resolution 2022-16. It's a resolution to appoint council committee member vacancies and to fill those vacancies. We have a number of vacancies, and if you all have,
Yeah, we gotta move it.
We have to do a vice too.
we have to what?
He was the vice, you need to move a
I
vice.
moved up, I was vice.
On
Right,
what?
he was our.
He was the vice
I was vice
president of council.
Yeah, I moved up, so we need to. fill a
Oh,
vice.
so now we have to fill the vice?
Yeah.
Well, it would naturally go to the longest serving
Yeah,
member.
so it'd be
So,
Doug.
Doug?
Well, you're the next. I mean, I can't do it, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be you.
I can't nominate myself.
So I'll nominate Doug
I'll second.
Lehner.
Thank you.
It's been moved and seconded, so we have to have another public hearing. So I'll open a public hearing. I'll close the public hearing. Any discussion? I think it's well deserved.
Thank you.
Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Doug Lehner.
You can vote for yourself.
Yes. Do it. Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
John Barnard.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is this resolution 2022-16, which is to fill some vacancies on council committees. First one is safety and service. It's a partial term, runs from the 4th of May of this year to December 31st of next year. And that was due to Ben Lee's resignation. So we have one spot on safety service.
Yeah.
So we already have Marvin and Doug on there. So who else? John, you want to be
John?
on there?
I'll nominate John.
All right, John's been nominated.
And for
Teresa, are we going to do these as a block or are we going to do them
Let's do them as a
individually?
block.
I was thinking go through,
We can we'll do it all and then come back and then we'll do the whole list.
Decide who wants to.
Okay, so we have John Merriman's going to fill in the Safety and Service Committee. You'll do a great job. Next up is the Finance Committee.
I nominate Donnie.
Hooray,
I second that.
hooray. We have two spots. Who else would like John? John.
Oh, John.
So we got Donnie and John.
Yeah.
That's
Two
great.
new ones.
And
They don't
I'm
realize what they're
already
getting
on
into.
there, so that'll be good. And then we have Economic Development. There's one spot on there. Ryan, you want to do that? That'd be great.
Is there any idea to move that meeting to?
We can move it whatever works for you guys.
I'm free. The reason we did it on Friday mornings
it's-
is because I'm off all day Friday.
Okay.
I can
I'm
definitely
flexible.
Are you?
change
Yeah.
that.
You know,
I was
You don't
gonna
know that
say.
about
you know there's a 30-second rule in there.
What do you mean? There's a 30
On
second?
that committee, you can't talk more than 30 seconds.
No, I don't talk that much anyway.
Anyhow,
gotta go
Ryan
find the
Green's
Taco Bell, I
got
guess.
for Economic Development. Okay, Rules Committee. And the Rules Committee considers amendments to council rules.
That's a very seldom.
It's very seldom meets. Marvin and I are on there currently. There's one
Who said that,
spot.
Donnie?
Yeah.
I'll
Donnie will do it.
nominate Donnie to do that.
Donnie, you want that one?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put Donnie on there. All right, moving right along. Then we have Stormwater Management. Right now, it's Marvin and I'm on there. We have one slot that was opened up when Cheryl resigned. So who would like to be that one? Do that one?
Could you serve on that, Doug?
Doug, you want to be on there?
That's fine.
Doug?
Yeah, that would be
All
good.
right.
Not very
He'll
often.
be good on there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Met a couple times. All right.
With water pipes.
So, it's Doug. We're gonna consider these as a block, so I will move to, appoint the people as we have selected for each of these committees.
You want to read them back to us, Teresa?
Teresa, you wanna read them to us so we
This is your last
aren't
chance, Doug.
confused? Yeah, if you don't wanna do it, now's your time to speak up.
John Merriman in the partial term for safety and service.
Yep,
John Barnard and John Merriman in the partial terms left on Finance Committee.
yep,
Ryan Green in the partial term for Economic Development.
yep,
John Barnard on the Rules Committee.
yep.
And Doug Leonard on the Stormwater Management.
All right.
I move we appoint all the candidates as read off by Teresa.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, but I have to have a public hearing, so I have to open this to the floor. Anybody has anything to say? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And Teresa, if there's no further discussion, will you call the roll?
Sharon Hendren.
Sharon?
Sorry.
Yes.
Sharon Hendren. The mic on.
I have a cold, I can't hear.
Oh,
What'd you say?
Yeah, what'd you say?
did you say yes?
Yes, she said.
Yes, she did.
John Barnard.
Yes.
John Merriman.
Yes.
Ryan Green.
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes.
Doug Leonard.
Yes.
Okay, next up is ordinance 09-2022, ordinance amending ordinance 47-21, the annual appropriation ordinance of the city of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. And I don't know what this, oh, this is the poll. Dana, you want to help me out here?
Yes, this is in response to an email that ODOT had sent, an invoice for add-on costs for upgraded signal poles in conjunction with the US 62 ODOT project. And the cost of those upgraded poles is $14,450. So this is the ordinance to appropriate that. If council would like to entertain it, they may. If not, that's their choice as well.
What we have here is ODOT has a standard pole that they bid, and it's not a decorative pole. We have decorative poles throughout the center of town, and to maintain that same look, they did an alternate bid. So basically, to have the pole match what our other decorative poles are in town, we have to cover the additional $14,000.
Didn't you give us that in your last month?
Yeah, I told you it was coming.
It was
Okay.
coming.
Told you it was
came.
coming.
Just gotta move the money around for it.
Yeah. So anyhow, this is only for introduction tonight. We don't have to vote on this.
How much are the bells, Jack? What's a bell cost?
Yeah.
Haven't bought a bell in a while.
I know.
Well, they're installed there permanently.
Well, those are permanent. Why, you want any more bells elsewhere? I'd have to, actually, they got very hard to get a hold of. The local
Bell maker.
in this country, no longer makes them. I think they're coming from Europe.
Oh, Europe? Okay.
Yeah, so I would have to get a price for you, so.
Anyhow, this will be, this has been introduced and we'll have a public hearing and vote on it at the May 17th meeting. That concludes the legislative agenda. And now we have other business. Anybody have other business to bring
Yes,
before the
I do.
council? Yes, Marvin?
I have one too.
Then we'll do Ryan.
When I had the meeting with Bill Ebbing in New Albany, all council members had their time.
I don't think John and Donnie,
Not the two. Yeah, the two new guys haven't.
they haven't, but we're setting that up. So you'll get invited to go meet with them.
When I met with John, we discussed several things. I found him to be a very nice person and interested in our community. We got to talking, I asked him if he had any copies of their long-range plans for New Albany, and he said yes, they had them. And he said they was a little bit dated now with Intel coming in, and I said, well, we need help on one. I didn't know that these other people had been working on it for 3 or 4 months. And he leaned back in his chair and we started talking about it and our visions for the area and stuff. And to make a long story short, he said that if we could get the school board, the township, and the village to all agree and set up a committee and hire somebody to look after our best interest, that he would furnish a team to draw the long-range plan up for this area. Meaning, what I took from him was Johnstown and Monroe Township, the whole schmear. We would always have final say on it and go to the meetings and stuff, but he wanted a couple members from the Board of Education, a couple members from the trustees, and some members from council. And he said if we got that accomplished, that he would pay for the study. And I thought it was a pretty decent offer on his part. And we talked about New Albany's development and how it looked, and I said, I don't think people in Johnstown's gonna like it if we try to do all brick houses. He said, this will be Johnstown's plan, not my plan. He said, this will be drawn up for Johnstown. And he said, you've already started your own type of look at what you want with Granville Mill and Troyer's. He said, if that's the look you want or whatever you want, that's a decision that you guys are gonna have to make locally. But he said, we'd like to work with you, and he emphasized his opinion that, well, he said everything would have to pay for itself, wholly funded. So it wasn't a burden on the schools or us either. And there's different ways of doing that. They have, he didn't discuss this too much, but they have a millage that they put on businesses and things to help the funding. But his plan was, his idea was to do a long-range plan for the whole township area. And just throw that out there for council. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, I think that we should talk about it and maybe offer them the New Albany company to come out here and give us a presentation so you'll understand a little more about it.
Anybody else want to comment?
And I did, as soon as I talked to Bill Ebling, that was on Friday, I come back and I think I called everybody and kind of filled them in on what was going on. And then, last Monday, I had a meeting with Jennifer Chrysler, and, which was a revelation. Talked to Jennifer. I talked to her several times before, and she'd always been nice and pleasant, but she was extremely nice and pleasant today I was there, and she was very glad to see me. And she said, we touched on the New Albany Accord, which was very interesting, and she said, well, we reached out to you, and we never got, nobody reached back to us to work on the New Albany Accord. She said, we would be happy to work with you on anything. And with that, Jennifer Chrysler gave me a copy of their strategic plan for 2020 that was made. She gave me a copy of their New Albany Northeast plan for this new part that's coming in, partial copy. She told me how they done their tax bases over there to make everybody whole. And she emphasized, I shouldn't be saying this now, but I have to say it in a public meeting anyway. She emphasized that we all needed to work together. She said, and New Albany was in the same place that we're in 15, 16 years ago. And with the funding and stuff they set in place coming in, and with this millage that they got coming on, she said they had approximately $2 million a year coming in, more than the taxes would have been on that property, and that money can be used for other things in the community over there. And she also said that New Albany wasn't really interested in moving this direction too much, that their town fathers over there had decided that that's the niche that they wanted. They were big enough, and they don't want to move any more out to our direction. And she emphasized also that we work very closely with the school and get along with them, and especially on the tax base and stuff. She said if you don't get your ducks in a row and get this agreements with the schools and things on taxes, she said your companies will pass you over. And there's several hundred companies coming toward us that will be suppliers for Intel. And they know they know approximately what they are and where they're coming from, and that would be a part of our long-range plan too. I talked about Jennifer Chrysler, and I'm going to skip back to Bill. While we was there, there's been some gossip going around from one of our local realtors. He's been telling people that Johnstown didn't have any water capacity, and the state wouldn't let us expand, and we couldn't get any more water. And I found out that was being said, and I called Bill Ebling before we had the meeting. A week or so he was on vacation, and before I met with him that day, he had already called the realtor and talked to him, and the realtor told him, and he said, well, I really feel that way, because he'd seen a study a few years ago, and it said that. And I said, well, why didn't he reach out to Jack Liggett and find out what's going on? I said, we have an engineer engaged to do the study on the treatment plant. It can't be done until July and August when it's dry. I said, we've already got the engineer working on the plans for the water plant. And I said, we're at 1 million gallons capacity now. We're going to increase it to 2 million. We can go up to as high as 4 million on that plant. And he said, well, those are all things good to know that I did not know. And he was talking about water for Intel, and I said, well, I think council will go along with you if you want us to drill a well out there by their new plant. We'll go out there and drill it and take care of it and give them water. Columbus is bucking on him a little bit, but he was very receptive to everything we talked about, and I tell you, he was just a delightful person to talk to, and I think he's a straight shooter. I really do. I know it's hard to tell a lot about a person in 1 hour, but I think that man is a man that's for profit, but I think he's doing a good job. He's done a good job in New Albany. Do I want New Albany like New Albany? No. I don't want to be exactly like New Albany, but if we can get the help from New Albany to help us, I think it's a good deal. A win-win situation for all of us. The other thing that when we talk about that New Albany Accord, they did call, and Teresa can vouch to this. There was several calls. Teresa, you want to tell about the calls coming in from New Albany on the Accord?
I know at the time, council was trying to prompt Jim Leonard to get meetings and come back and forth. I do know that they made several calls and left several messages. Whether they were returned or not, I cannot answer that.
Okay, well, I was told by Jennifer Chrysler that the messages was not returned, and that last meeting that they had with Jim, they told Jim, I think that was a September or November meeting, they told Jim that they was looking for water. They've been in talks with Delco, they've been in talks with Southwest Licking, and they even did some test wells down to Alexandria to find out some stuff. Jim Leonard was told that they wanted 15 million gallon of water a day the next 15 years or so. Jim Leonard did not even tell our Jack Liggett about it. And she said, well, I'm sad that he didn't tell you, but I'm happy to know that you guys are willing to work with us. And it's a door open for you to talk to her, Jack. But they have been in talks with Delco, Southwest Licking, and they drilled test wells in Alexandria. One of the wells was 7 million, 6 million, several million a day, all the wells in Alexandria. And then I told her, I said, you know, you might want to do some testing on that water down there, Jennifer. And she said, why is that? And I said, well, I was mayor in '82 when they put the water system in. And I said, the water system in Alexandria was put in because they have nitrates in the water. She said, ooh, that's good to know. So they have been snooping around. Any questions of me, folks?
Questions for Marvin? Okay, anybody, oh, Ryan, you had
All
something.
right. Well, on a much lighter note, although I did have my meeting too with New Albany Company, very informative. Heard about Jim Leonard, knowing about this since September. This was interesting. So, but yeah, I got a softball thing I'm trying to do with in conjunction with JYAA. Said it was a much lighter note. With JYAA and the Legion, we have a softball tournament coming up July 23rd, 24th. Trying to raise some money for the kids. So should be fun. We'll have a home run limit because we are playing at the youth fields. So not that a lot of us are in amazing shape and we'll just hit dingers all night, but we'll try. So we have that going on. Should be fun. Come on out, help the kids.
Okay,
July 23rd, 24th.
anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Where's my paperwork on? Chops Montgomery, I've had this for a while, Chip. Chop's daughter, Diane, this is what she would like to put on her, the stone for her dad.
Yep,
In loving memory of Darwin Chops Montgomery, fire chief, trustee, and street maintenance, whatever his title was in the street department, and known to everyone as Mr. Johnstown. That's what she'd like on it.
okay,
Give that to Jack.
yes.
We approved that a long time ago. We was
Long
waiting on
time
this
ago, we
one.
never got what was gonna go on it, the stone.
So that's that down the track.
There's that.
Thank you.
Any, I've got one last thing. Any word on the stone for the Oliver Bigelow stone?
It's not in yet.
Okay, it's still on the boat from China.
It's on the, yeah.
All
Does
right.
anyone want to make a, what do we want to do about inviting New Albany over here to, I need to give Bill an answer.
Oh, tell him to come
Yeah.
talk to us.
When do we want to set it up for? Do we want to do a
Do you wanna do
separate
it?
work session?
We could do a work session.
I was
We
going to
could do a
suggest
special.
a work session for an Arizona recap.
We could do that.
We could do that in conjunction.
Yeah.
I figured you had a lot of good info.
I do. I took copious notes.
Call me.
You got it, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a nice
Mark,
evening, Mark.
thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thanks for the date.
I will see you.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
The last thing I have is that we have procured the approval of the school board and to use the Performing Arts Center on Thursday, May 19th for a community-wide meeting concerning Intel. And it'll be from 6:30 to 9. We have to cut it off at 9, so we can be out of the building by 9:30.
Who's leading this meeting?
Huh?
Who will be leading it?
Well, I think I am gonna be the sort of
Moderator.
Winfrey character to sort of walk around as
We all getting money?
money.
Yeah, if you're Oprah, we're gonna hand out.
No, we're not, no
New
money.
new cars.
No, I'm gonna give new cars to everybody.
I heard
not
that,
coming.
But anyhow, that's on the 19th. Invitations will go out later this week. I have Emily, I think most everybody met Emily at our very successful business briefing that we had here in this room. Emily was with us on our trip to Chandler. And she's great. And I called her just before I left, and then she joined us out there. And she said, of course I'll be there. And then tell me how many more folks from Intel you want me to have. I said, maybe one more. And then we're going to cut the panel size down a little bit. And I'm also asking people to submit their questions in advance. And those will probably go to Teresa. And put their name and address so that we can sort them out so that Johnstown residents have priority in the asking of questions. People in the various townships, they'll be in the second tier. If we don't get enough questions from Johnstown, we'll put in some of those. So, and also to cut down on any duplicates. And that'll help move it along. So I think it'll probably be mainly the same folks, and if any of you want to join and sit up there with me, we'd love all the more the merrier.
what time is it?
6:30 at the Performing Arts Center.
Oh, Ruth Ann said if they had it in the morning, she'd furnish donuts from Costco.
Well, it's not in the morning, it's at night.
Well, she won't furnish them at night, she's gonna furnish them in the morning.
So, anyhow, so that's the last thing I have. We're gonna go into executive session, and I don't know whether we're staying here or what'd you all decide?
Let's
Are we
stay
going? Are we going,
We can stay here.
or are our guests going?
That's all we have left, too.
That's all we
That's
have.
all we have, so,
Goodbye.
okay.
They're probably ready to
We'll
go.
say goodnight to all of you who are nice enough to come and join us tonight. We appreciate you coming, always.
On May the 4th. May the 4th
May the 4th
be with you. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, yes, please.
Got to say that at the end.
Yeah, well, I'm a little,
Yeah.
that's the
No,
second.
tell him to come
That's-
back, tell him to wait.
I need a
No, he
motion.
can't stay until we actually move to his. His is the second one.
Make a motion.
Mayor,
Make a motion.
Yeah.
Make a
I need a
motion.
motion and a roll call vote to go and to
Yeah.
enter.
I gotta get everybody back.
You need a motion to go into executive.
Doug and
You can
Sharon,
do it.
They'll come back. They're gonna come back, and then we'll make it.
That's fine. As long as I get it.
19th, 17th.
we got to make a motion.
On your
All right, go.
calendar, on your website, we'll do the.
Yeah, it'll be on the website, it'll be on the board uptown.
Okay.
It's
Just
gonna
so we
be,
have enough.
yeah, it's
It'd be
gonna,
embarrassing if
we gotta wait.
we gotta fill the 600 seats.
That would be awesome.
600, right?
600, not 60.
No, 600.
Got it.
I think.
Got it.
And we appreciate it.
Congratulations, sir. Excuse me while I fall over all the.
Yeah, be careful of the cord.
Does their chip design for field.
That's all I had to say. Or who?
You didn't know.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I don't have any hand signals.
Well, we threw 'em in.
Less than 15
Yes.
seconds.
Do you wanna give him a copy?
Tell him that. You gotta tell him that.
Go out and see him.
Kathy?
See ya, as always.
Take care.
Yep.
Bring your friends, come to PAC. We want to see you all there.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
What's
Big
that?
tiered thing, great big tiered thing by my garage door.
Right.
Somebody dropped it.